who help children read in Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire is being hailed as a success. The scheme costs £2,000 per child, but it's accelerated reading speeds by up to 5 times. Joe Tidy reports.
Austin is given one-to-one tuition every day for 30 minutes. It's part of a 20-week intensive programme aiming to accelerate his reading age, and the results are obvious.
Nick is in the book. Here is Nick.
Slow down. He's only been doing the lessons for about 4 weeks, and actually, he's making incredible progress.
The Reading Recovery Project is all about helping children keep up with their classmates. 13 schools are currently taking part in the scheme in Buckinghamshire alone, and on average, teachers say children are reading 5 times faster after the course. And it's not cheap. It costs around £2,000 per student, but many head teachers think it's priceless.
It's enabled us to challenge the way we teach reading right throughout the school and to keep improving on that, to train others up to take on some of the strategies within reading recovery, and therefore, in terms of value for money, it's excellent.
Funding has been secured until 2011, but for Austin, it's already a happy ending. Joe Tidy, BBC South Today.
Now, councils in Surrey aren't the only ones doing this. 1,000 streetlights in Wokingham are being switched off between midnight and 5:30 a.m. It's part of a pilot project by the Borough Council to save energy and money and try to reduce light pollution. But some people fear it'll lead to more burglaries and put people's safety at risk. Police, though, have been consulted about the plans and they say there's no link between the burglaries and lights being switched off. OK, looking at the weather now, we'll have a cold and sunny start, but cloud will spread from the north through the day. It'll stay dry, though, but it will feel pretty chilly. Your highs 9 degrees Celsius. On to the travel news, and so far, so good this morning. Fairly quiet, although I must say several Whitelink catamaran sailings between Portsmouth and Ryde have been cancelled. If you're worried about your sailing, probably worth giving them a call on the number below. OK, that is it. That's all from us for the time being. There is, of course, more on your BBC local radio station. We will be back in half an hour. We'll have a full forecast for you then. Bye-bye.
Hello, this is Breakfast with Charlie State and Louise Minchin. This morning we're talking about rubbish, more precisely bins. There are claims that more and more councils are putting microchips inside people's bins, that they're doing it to get more money out of us.
Yes, and we're also going to be investigating that a little bit later. Also, we're going to be in Surrey, where all 89,000 streetlights are being replaced with lamps on a dimmer switch. The council there says it could save taxpayers millions of pounds.
And will Catherine Bigelow become the first woman to win the Oscar for Best Director for The Hurt Locker? We'll be looking at why the Oscars have taken so long to honour the talent of female filmmakers.
And the singer Carly Simon has recorded a new version of You're So Vain. But can we persuade her to tell us who the song was really about when she talks to us later? Chance of that? Slim.
But we'll ask.
We'll ask.
You never know. Time now, 6:31. First, our main story this morning. The Pakistani authorities say several people have been arrested in connection with the apparent kidnapping of a 5-year-old boy from Oldham in Greater Manchester.
Sahil Saeed's family say he was taken from his grandmother's house in the eastern Punjab region yesterday, just hours before he and his father were due to fly home. Police in Pakistan say they're confident he will be released in the next 24 hours.
Yes, we'll get the very latest on the situation in Pakistan from our reporters there just after 7 o'clock.
The Prime Minister will give evidence at the Iraq war inquiry today. Gordon Brown wasn't due to appear until after the general election, but agreed to move the date forward following pressure from opposition parties. Most of the questioning is expected to focus on the run-up to the war, when Mr Brown was Chancellor.
MPs are to get a pay rise of nearly £1,000, taking their basic salary to almost £66,000 a year. The 1.5% increase was decided by an independent review board and is lower than last year's settlement. The Public Service Workers Union Unison says it's unfair when many low-paid council workers have had their pay frozen.
4 people are being treated for burns after a chemical leak at an industrial site in Lincolnshire. A cloud of toxic gas escaped from the Crystal Global plant at Stallingborough near Grimsby just after midnight. 10 fire crews are still at the site of the leak, and people living nearby are being advised to keep their doors and windows closed.
There's been a big increase in the number of councils in Britain installing microchips in people's bins, according to a privacy campaign group. Big Brother Watch claims councils are getting ready to introduce pay-as-you-throw charges, but the local government association says microchips help provide a better service and reward recyclers rather than punishing householders.
More than 1,000 people are trapped on board ships on the Baltic Sea after their boats got stuck in ice in freezing weather. Several boats, including a large passenger ferry, have been stranded since yesterday off the coast of Sweden. Rescue teams are trying to free the ships using icebreakers, but conditions are so bad that even they have got stuck.
And a team of celebrities cycling from John O'Groats to Land's End for BBC Sport Relief have crossed the finishing line after 4 days of non-stop pedalling.
The group, including presenters Fern Cotton and Davina McCall and comedian David Walliams, took it in turns on the bike, cycling all day and all night to complete the ride. They finally finished a 1,000-mile journey last night, raising more than £1 million.
Yeah, we saw them taking off on Monday. It started off on Monday.
It started off on breakfast.
Yeah, they had the takeoff Monday morning and the sun was shining, but it looked cold, so they've obviously had quite a journey.
They've had to do lots of training.
Yeah, and they were cycling all through the night. Take it in turns, do the cycling,
Brilliant.
so that's quite something.
And that's a fantastic amount of money as well.
Those are the main stories this morning. Coming up on the programme, with the Oscars just 2 days away, Simon will be looking at the state of the British film industry, chatting to a rising young director.
Right now, let's catch up on the sport. And Mike's here. Hello again.
Good morning. Talking of rising stars, there's another one for England's cricketers. Another one with South African heritage, following in the footsteps, if you like, in the current team of Kevin Pietersen and Jonathan Trott. His name's Craig Kieswetter, so a certain hint of his South African heritage in his name. And there's a bit of debate going on this, whether England should pick players who've basically been brought up in South Africa. But in Craig's case, he did have a Scottish grandmother, or Scottish mother rather, and he went to school towards the later days in his school career in Somerset.
So could he have had the choice?
Yeah, well, he played for South Africa under-19s.
OK.
And then switched allegiances. South Africa weren't very happy about that. England's latest recruit then with South African heritage has certainly made a name for himself this morning with a maiden century in the third one-day match in Bangladesh. Alistair Cook's men lost the toss. They were put into bat by their hosts. Kevin Pietersen made just 22, but the man of the hour certainly is Craig Kieswetter. He hit out left, right and centre, basically, making 107 before being bowled by Razak. Luke Wright finished off the innings with a 6 as well. So England set Bangladesh a total of 285 to win. It's currently lunch, with the hosts yet to bat. Now, there's been something of an upset in Guyana, where Zimbabwe beat the West Indies in the first one-day international. They won by 2 runs after Kemal Roach failed to hit 4 off the final ball. Zimbabwe also got the better of the West Indies in a 2020 game, remember, last Sunday. Now, a cruel blow to England's chances at the Hockey World Cup, where an injury to captain Richard Mantle has overshadowed the team's 3rd consecutive victory. This was a 5-2 win over Pakistan in New Delhi. Jonty Clark and Barry Middleton both scored twice in their side's 3rd win, which means England need 1 more victory now to reach the semi-finals. Remember, England have beaten tournament favourites Australia and South Africa in their previous 2 matches already. But now, for the rest of this tournament, they will have to do without penalty corner specialist and captain Mantle, who broke his right ankle and was stretchered off in the second half of the win over Pakistan. Now, the club versus country row surrounding England flanker James Haskell has reached new heights of vitriol. Stade Francais want him to play for them tomorrow because there are no Six Nations games this weekend. The RFU, though, are refusing to allow it, so Stade have accused the RFU of blackmail and keeping Haskell prisoner. Now, in football, the Premier League has abandoned its plan for a playoff for the 4th Champions League place. Clubs such as Liverpool, who won the European Cup in 2005, were said to be not keen. Actually, nor were Chelsea, Manchester United or Arsenal. Other clubs, though, were understood to be interested, but Premier League Chief Executive Richard Scudamore claimed there was basically not enough support for this proposal. Now, the President of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, has used a trip to Wembley to reassure England fans over safety fears at the World Cup in South Africa this summer. Mr Zuma is on his first state visit to Britain. Now, before meeting Gordon Brown, he met FA Chairman Lord Treesman and England manager Fabio Capello. Interest in England tickets has been slower than usual for a World Cup. President Zuma insists, though, crime has been reduced in his country and that they're ready to protect those who want to go to the event.
When we say we are ready, we do not exclude the question of security. We include that. We are ready to protect those who would come. And if there are those who are skeptical or feeling concerned, they must know that matter has been addressed. They will come to South Africa safely and leave South Africa safer.
Yeah, it may be a far cry from the glamour of, say, Wimbledon or Flushing Meadows, but it's a big debut for Britain's James Ward in the Davis Cup tennis. He'll open Britain's Euro-Africa Group 2 tie against Lithuania in Vilnius this morning. Britain are in Group 2 after being beaten by Poland, remember, in February. So the winners of this time Vilnius will face either Ireland or Turkey, with a relegation playoff for the losers. There's no Andy Murray, of course, this time. And the first of 2 singles matches today gets underway at 10 o'clock. And you can get updates on this on 5 Live and also the BBC Sport website. It shows how far Great Britain have fallen, doesn't it? Playing in Vilnius, where the sport there gets very little funding, although the facilities actually look very good.
Yeah, good. Mike, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's Gordon Brown's turn to appear before the Iraq inquiry. Today, our diplomatic correspondent Peter Biles is outside the building in central London, where he will later be giving evidence. Very good morning to you, Peter. Of course, originally, Gordon Brown was due to appear there after the general election, which gives today's events extra significance.
That's right. It was always expected that Gordon Brown and any serving politicians would and won to 2007. The inquiry, I think, will be less interested in his term as Prime Minister from 2007 onwards. But we've heard evidence from Sir Kevin Tebbit, a former Permanent Secretary at the MOD, about a guillotine being imposed on the defence budget in 2003, just after the Iraq invasion. That caused the MOD to run a crisis budget until they got relief the following year in 2004. We heard Jeff Hoon expressing concern about insufficient funding from 1998 onwards that led to helicopters being delayed in being brought into service. So lots of questions about funding, and the families in particular have concerns about the inadequacies of snatched Land Rovers, which were vulnerable to roadside bombs.
Peter, thank you very much for that. The first of those session this morning, I believe, due to start around 10 this morning.
And a little bit later here on Breakfast, actually, we're going to be speaking to Susan Smith, whose son died in Iraq, about her views as well.
Time now 6:41. When a train is described as being on time, you'd imagine it to mean, well, exactly that. According to a consumer watchdog, if it's only going short distance, a train is still considered to be punctual as long as it's less than 5 minutes late.
And if it's on a long journey, it's technically on time, even if it's up to 10 minutes late. Well, Passenger Focus is calling for the real punctuality figures to be published. Ashwin Kumar is their rail director. Morning to you.
Good morning.
So you've done a sort of survey on all of this. What else have you found?
Well, what we've done is we've looked at punctuality statistics, and it must be acknowledged that the rail industry has got better and better at the 5-minute punctuality statistic. More trains arriving within 5 minutes, and passengers are increasingly happier. So the question is, where next? And so what we've done is we've asked London commuters in this case what they think of punctuality in detail. And what we found quite unequivocally is that passengers notice the very first minute of delay.
Do they?
Yes, passenger satisfaction
You'd think it wouldn't matter?
Passenger satisfaction starts to drop. So a few passengers are unhappy after the first minute of delay, a few more after the second minute of delay, a few more after the third minute of delay. There isn't a situation where everyone's happy up to 5 minutes and suddenly everyone's disappointed. Actually, it's a fairly steady drop in satisfaction from the very first minute of delay.
OK, so, I mean, some of the delays must be sort of inevitable. And as you say, the rail companies are doing much to stop those delays. Could the way they're being handled help passengers?
Well, that is a separate issue, but the way that delays are managed is still something that passengers find very frustrating, particularly the information they get at times of delay. But what we were looking at was just the fact of the delay. And what's clear is that people are noticing the first minute of delay. The other thing that we found was that looking at a particular study with London commuters, particularly in the afternoons when we're going home in the evening, punctuality is measured at the end of the journey, but actually most people have got off the train by the time the train reaches its destination. So it's quite possible on some journeys for trains to be more on time at their destination than they are at the stations where passengers are getting off.
So you'd like it to be measured sort of all along the way, just as opposed to just at the end?
Yes, we need the industry to start thinking about how it deals with intermediate stops, because that might actually be where most passengers are getting off.
OK, the Association of Train Operating Companies saying, as private sector operators, they're in business of keeping customers happy and will keep on working hard to continue to improve punctuality and provide passengers with the service they expect and deserve. I mean, you yourselves even admit, actually, things have really come quite a long way, haven't they?
Yes, we've got no dispute about that. Things have improved. The industry has worked hard. All the people who work in the industry have worked hard to get things better at the 5-minute delay measure. But now we're asking the question about the next steps.
Yes, I'm sort of interested as well. You talk about going home. Are people more irritated by being late going home than they are perhaps coming in. Have you...
It wasn't so much that they were more irritated, but they were more likely to be late because they're getting off before the point at which punctuality is measured. So we're thinking, particularly, you know, if you were on a crowded commuter train, it's probably relatively empty by the time it gets to its final destination.
Yeah.
So we need to think about measuring punctuality where the passengers are actually getting off.
OK, Ashwin Kumar from Passenger Focus, thanks for your
Thank
time.
you.
Time now, 6:44. You're watching Breakfast from BBC News. The main stories this morning. Police in Pakistan say they've arrested several people in connection with the kidnapping of a 5-year-old British boy.
Gordon Brown will give evidence to the Iraq inquiry today, answering questions about his role as Chancellor in the run-up to the war.
Also coming up in the programme.
Suddenly you've turned 18 and someone who doesn't even know you has decided that you're not ill enough to get any more treatment, and so they will just discharge you and you're left on your own.
The gap in mental health care. We hear from young people who say help stops the moment you become an adult.
We'll be discussing that a little bit later. Right now, it was really cold when I got up, Carol. How's everybody else?
Well, a lot of us are feeling that this morning, Louise. We've got a frosty start to the day across much of the British Isles, the exception being across parts of Scotland. In fact, this time yesterday in Braemar, the temperature was -18. Now it's 3 degrees Celsius, so we're 21 degrees up compared to yesterday. That's quite a remarkable statistic. Now, this morning, it is a cold start. We've got frost, but there'll also be some sunny spells around. Sunny spells through the day, but the cloud is going to encroach from the north towards the south. And you can see the level of cloud we have across northern parts of the country. Where the cloud has broken, well, that's, of course, where we have the lowest temperatures. So for the southeast of England this morning, it is a cold start to the day. Having said that, we've lost the nagging northeasterly wind, so as the sun gets up, it's going to feel more pleasant. At the moment, some stubborn cloud across East Anglia, that will move away, but quite a lot of cloud from Cheshire in through Lancashire, for example, some fog across Cumbria. The northeast of England at the moment, relatively clear, but the cloud is going to move down through the morning, and cloudy across Scotland with rain coming in across the northwest, depositing some snow on the mountaintops. Now for Northern Ireland, a little bit of patchy fog here this morning too, the cloud continuing to break up. And for Wales, a lovely start to the day, as indeed it is across the southwest of England, with plenty of sunshine, but again, nippy, but without that nagging wind of yesterday. Now through the day, as the rain comes across the Highlands into the Grampians, there may be a little bit of ice around, and the snow too predominantly on the hills, but it's breezy across the north and the east of Scotland today. For the rest of us, not so much lighter breezes than yesterday, but you can see how the cloud continues to push steadily southwards, not just through the day, but also through the night. Now we'll also have some rain affecting eastern parts of the British Isles as we go through the course of the night. Clearer skies out towards the west means that we are looking at lower temperatures. We're actually in the Blue Peter Garden, not Surrey, as you can see there. And then tomorrow, you can also see that rain moving in from the east, sweeping over towards the west, maybe some sleet in it as the cloud sheet goes across to the west as well, leaving some brighter skies in the eastern areas. And then for Sunday, a severe frost across central parts of England. There'll also be a frost across the south of England, but a lot of dry weather on Sunday. A lot of sunshine as well, with a wee bit more cloud across Scotland. And that's how it's looking. Back to Louise and Charlie.
Thank you, Carol.
Simon's talking about the movie business today, the film industry.
Yeah, we're talking business. No business like show business, as they say. And it's Oscar night on Sunday, and a clutch of UK films are up for awards. But just how easy is it to make a successful British film these days, especially with the credit crunch pouring cold water on some of the funding? Well, I've been finding out.
How did it go?
An Education starring Carey Mulligan is nominated for Best Picture and is one of 17 British nominees at this year's Oscars.
Always the mark of a cultural triumph.
Colin Firth is also a hot tip for Best Actor for his role in A Single Man. The silver screen has proved to be something of a silver lining during this recession. In fact, the UK film industry is celebrating that we've never spent more money going to the movies.
What's interesting about the film industry is that it's weathered the recession very well. The level of production overall has stayed pretty static, and the level of success is up. So all other things being equal, we're in quite a good place at the moment.
I went to the oldest film studios in the world to find out how hard it is to raise the money to make a film these days.
Right, this may not look like much at the moment, but this is going to be a stately home graced by Maggie Smith in an upcoming film, Downton Abbey. Classic British bonnet drama, the sort that we're so good at making. I'm at stage 3 at the famous Ealing Studios, and I'm here with studio boss Barnaby Thompson. And Barnaby, how tough is it? Obviously, this is getting made. How tough is it to make a film like this in the UK today?
Well, I think that you know, the British film is in pretty robust state in many ways. You know, we've got a lot of talent. We've had a lot of hits recently, like Slumdog Millionaire, like St. Trinian's. I think that because of the credit crunch, it's become harder to borrow money in order to make films. And so I think that looking to the future, it's certainly getting more challenging to get movies made. One of the things that was great in the old days was, if you look at these films, a lot of the same talent was involved. You know,
Ealing makes fewer films now than in the heyday of the Lavender Hill Mob or St. Trinian's. But UK films still provide 35,000 jobs and contribute over £4 billion to the UK economy. So there's real gold in those famous little statues.
With me now is Adam Wimpenny, who's an independent film director. Got a company called Wildcard Films. Morning to you, Adam.
Morning.
You're trying to get money for a movie, like many people in your situation. How tough is it out there, and where do you start?
I think there are challenges out there as a first-time filmmaker, but there's many different avenues. But in terms of the industry itself,
Are you talking about professional investors? You're asking your mates? You know, do you ask your mum for a loan? I mean,
no. I think really, I mean, if you are trying to make a feature film, you actually want to go in and treat it as try and get established investors and people who are really going to put money in a larger quantity. There's no point really starting with your family and friends. I think to actually make a film, it's not a cheap enterprise to do. So you're looking for.
Okay, how, in your situation, for example, how much money do you actually need? Like £1 million, £2 million, £10 million?
Well, I think at the moment, I mean, there's films such as Shifty, which have been made for £100,000, but a good British film can go up to about £5 million. From our point of view, we're trying to look for around about the £1 million to £3 million mark for our first project. But it's no small amount of money.
You know, and how's it going? Do you find that people are saying, look, you've got us at the wrong moment, in the middle of a recession, you know, funds are tight, or do you think that they're saying, actually, I'm getting no money, leaving my money in the bank? It's actually, why not?
Well, I think it's a good time for film in that respect, because people who are looking for investment in projects, if they're not getting money from their normal stocks and shares, I think film is a more interesting prospect, because it's a high risk strategy, but there can also be a high return. And you can see you've got a project at the end of it.
Do you find that people like the glamour of it, saying, you know, they all want a piece of the action? You know, there's that allure to it.
Certainly, I think everybody likes film. I think there's it's a more interesting thing to have as part of your portfolio. And as soon as you mentioned that you're doing a film project, I think people are keen to try and get involved in it.
All right, well, we wish you, of course, all the best. Wildcard Films, Adam Penny, director there. We're going to be talking to a lady who produced Constant Gardener in the next hour and find out how she's almost a little bit more established than Adam here, but finding out how hazy she finds it these days to raise money.
I was trying to remember the name of that film that was made last year, which was made almost for nothing, the horror film made in someone's house with a video camera.
Colin. The zombie film.
Yeah.
I think it was. I think.
Very, some of these small, tiny budget films. Anyway, we'll talk more about it later. Thank you both very much.
Good luck. Thank you. Now, have you ever had trouble sleeping because of a street light outside your bedroom window? Well, one county council thinks that it has the answer, and it promises the solution is going to save money as well.
Yes, Breakfast. Sean Fletcher is in Surrey for us to find out a little more. Sean, explain.
Yes, light pollution is on the increase and it affects many of us in our towns and cities. But here in Surrey, as you say, they're introducing a new type of street light that will reduce the problem and save up to £12 million over 25 years.
They've been illuminating our streets for more than 2 centuries, in all shapes and sizes. Their interesting designs and orange glow have occasionally caught the eye, right from the very first public street lights, which were gas-powered at the start of the 19th century. But the focus has changed in Surrey. From now on, they'll be seen in a new light, a new whiter light. That's the old-style lamp in the background. Britain's most powerful dimmer switch will control 89,000 new street lamps in the county. They won't be switched off, just dimmed at less busy times to reduce carbon emissions. So as the sun goes down, a new energy-efficient streetlight takes over.
it's good to have some good news to tell for a change. Clearly there are lots of other issues that are exercising residents at the present time, namely potholes, but it's good to get something like this off the ground.
Now, if you're anything like me, you'll have a lamppost right outside your house with the light positioned annoyingly at the height of your bedroom window. It doesn't help with the sleep, does it? But there's no need anymore for a thick curtain or even an eye mask, because these things focus the light where it's needed.
The new, whiter, energy-efficient lamp points its light towards the ground, and it could be coming to a street near you, which would mean less of this. Light pollution can affect our view of the night sky from urban areas. There'd be a lot less urban glow if I was in control, though. Whoever thought it was a good idea to hand me the laptop dimmer switch was rather foolish.
There it goes. Right, where's the on switch? Excuse me, where's the on switch? And you'll be pleased to hear I did actually find the on switch, but since then the lights they have gone off as the sun has risen. And let me just point out that that giant dimmer switch, it isn't a big version of the dimmer switch in your front room. It is actually all controlled by computers, as you saw in that piece there. Well, that's shed a little bit more light on the issue of light pollution with Emma Marrington from the Campaign to Protect Rural England. Good morning. Just this glow over our cities and towns, what's the problem in that?
Well, the Campaign to Protect Rural England mapped light pollution levels in the country between 1993 and the year 2000. And we found that light levels increased by 26%. And funding permitted, we're hoping to map light pollution again for 2007. So it's a huge problem and it keeps increasing. And the issue with light pollution is that, you have lighting spill into people's homes, so disrupting sleep patterns. You have the effect on wildlife, disrupting normal habits. So, it really is quite an issue. And then also it takes people's experience of the dark sky, the tranquility of their surroundings away when it's lit up 24/7.
Yeah, I agree with all that, because I wear an eye mask because I got a lamppost, as we saw in the piece, right out front of my house. Now, the lights went off here just before you arrived, so we haven't really had a proper chance to assess the lighting here. But is new street lighting the way forward?
Yes, we think that new technologies, dimming technologies, is a great idea. We think CPRE support the full cut-off flat glass bulbs. We like to see lots of those. If you can dim the lights, if you can control it centrally, that means you can have the right lighting where it's needed and when it's needed, instead of just having the great orange glow on all the time. And it gives you local discretion. For a rural area, a village, for example, would need less lighting than a town would. So it's local discretion. It's controlling the lighting, which is obviously a good thing.
Emma, thank you very much. That's all we've got time for the moment. The lights were on earlier on. They were dimmed, but it's very difficult to spot the difference with the naked eye. But it does save on the energy.
Good, Sean. Thank you very much for that.
Still to come here on the programme. Singer Carly Simon is going to be here later.